Welcome back to Self-Love Ignited. My name is Katie Allen, and today I am chatting with Katie Vilaranda. Katie is a woman who has overcome just some incredible things. In her mid-20s, she was paralyzed in an accident and felt like her body betrayed her. She had to learn how to do things like walk and talk and butter toast. And throughout this whole journey, she has really learned how to love herself and really understand that you can do anything you put your mind to. Katie works as a small business marketing strategist. She is from Southwestern Ontario in Canada. She is a mom to Dean and a fur mom to Ace, and her new book, Brain on Strike, explores her journey from being paralyzed to relearning how to walk again to running a marketing consultancy. I cannot wait for you to meet Katie. Let's dive on in. All right, Katie, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before we sort of dive into the deeper stuff, I would love for you to just take a moment and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, where you are, and something really unique about you.
For sure. So my name is Katie Vilaranda. I am a small business marketing strategist. I'm from Southwestern Ontario. So we call it like the Florida of Canada, pretty much, because it's so warm and humid all the time. I have a 2.5-year-old named Dean, who is tenacious and just so inquisitive. And I have a dog named Ace, and my partner Sydney. We've been married 5 years now. And a fun and interesting fact. I was on the cheer squad in high school, and someone landed on me, and I broke a rib.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awful.
But I managed to finish the performance, so
oh, geez,
through that.
Just push through with a broken rib.
Yeah.
It's fine. No big deal.
It's okay.
Jeez. Okay. So this podcast, Self-Love Ignited, obviously we are talking all about self-love, body positivity, and really creating that like healthy, loving relationship with yourself. So I would love for you to just tell your story. Obviously you're here because you've had some challenges and you've overcome them. So why don't you just tell us your story and where these sort of challenges began? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, for sure. So I was about a year into having my own marketing consultancy. So I was, hustling, going with the flow. I had a roster of clients, just loving life, and I was engaged to be married. And this was in 2015. So 2 months before my wedding, I was paralyzed on the entire left side of my body. And I spent 6 weeks in the hospital, pretty much learning from wheelchair to walker to cane, how to walk again, and then also use my hand. So how to butter toast, like all of the simple things that you take for granted in life. I was exploring all of that again. I had to shut down my business. We went through with the wedding, but it was just it was a very challenging and struggling time in my life. But with that, I felt like my body betrayed me. I looked in the mirror, and the left side of my face would droop very drastically, where I couldn't even open my eye, and I couldn't speak at all. I couldn't eat hardly. So it was very challenging. And you have this identity that you know yourself to, and you're almost rebuilding from, you graduate college and you become a mom or you get married, and all of these, you gain a new identity, I would say. Now this just challenged who I saw myself as a person. I was very strong, independent, and it completely broke me. So looking at the mirror and seeing my face like that, I couldn't look myself in the eye. I thought I was a monster. I looked, and it was a hard time. And then I kept thinking I'm supposed to get married in 2 months. And how do I use my hand? I do all computer work. I code websites. I do all of that stuff. And I can only use one hand right now. And the communication part of it just destroyed me as well.
Yeah. Holy crap. And how old were you, can I ask, when this happened?
I was 26.
26. So that's
Yeah.
really like the time that you're supposed to be like at your best and your most energetic and most productive. And wow, okay. Okay. S-
Yeah,
So, but before, like, would you say that you had a good relationship with your body before this happened?
for sure. Like I would say I was more on the vainer side of things, but I wear hair extensions, I got my nails, all that kind of stuff your early 20s you explore
Yeah.
and do. Um, and yeah, like I never had any issues that way. Like I was very confident individual, and then looking at these physical things, especially in the mirror, and being slumped over in a wheelchair and not being able to dress myself, all of those things that I at that point in my life attributed to my identity, that this was my outside features and everything, that was who I am. But then when this happened, it just tore all of that down, and I had to rediscover how to love myself again. And to be honest, like, look myself in the mirror straight in the eye. I would never look myself in the mirror. Like it was a very, yeah, it cut me to my core pretty much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So tell us a little bit about that process because now as you're sitting here, like you're very bubbly. Is that your son who's joined you?
Yes, he's come to join me.
That's fine. That's fine. He's
Okay.
making a guest appearance. It's totally
He
cool.
is. He wants to be in bed right now.
So you were in that place where you were like feeling betrayed by your body, like not being able to look yourself in the eye, really in that like low place. What did you do to get from there to where you are today? Like, what did that work look like?
It was a lot of work, and it's an ongoing process, to be honest. Like, I was off work for a year. I had to close my business down for a year. I would stare at my hand, and my toes, my left toes, just thinking I was like on Star Trek or something like that, where I'm gonna mind meld and tell you to move like that one little toe. Similar to like Kill Bill when Uma Thurman was in the car and she's just trying, you focus so hard on these things. So I went into therapy. I did a lot of focused on CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy. So
Mhm.
what can I control? What kind of those kind of feelings, because of the trauma of everything that I experienced. And I journaled. A big thing for me was self affirmations, but saying them out loud in the mirror. So I would go over 10 when I would have, and I had really bad anxiety after this, and I still do from everything that happened. And I would look myself in the mirror and say, "You are strong. You're beautiful. You can do this. Like, you've been through worse." For me, I've always been through worse. Thinking that way, it helped me gain that. But I had to look myself in the face and focus on all of those negative things that were produced, and that helped me a lot. I still do that to this day.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I love that you said like it is a process, like it is ongoing. And even though yours was a very traumatic experience that was sort of a sudden start and very different from a lot of other people's, like regardless, it's always a constant thing throughout our lives, right? Like it's just like any other relationship we have, like your relationship with your husband or your son, like every day it's evolving, every day you're working on it. And it's the exact same with your relationship with yourself and your body.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it helps you. And I look back at, well, when I was in it, it was just too much. But when I look at it now, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. I have, like, I never thought I could persevere like this. I'm so determined. And I've always changed. So I've carried this on. I get episodes where I become paralyzed like that too. So I have to work through and know, okay, have that self-love of taking care of myself and not pushing through so much where I will be in bed like that for a week or something like that. But to know, like, this is my body now, this is my new normal, and it's okay, and not hate on myself for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful. That's powerful. Like, so, like allowing, like having that energy of allowing and accepting. And that's one thing I would really love to know. Like, how has your self-care changed? How do you take care of yourself differently now than you did before?
Oh, before it was like, work all hours, have no, like, drive, that busy lifestyle too. And now it's like, you have to slow down, you have to recognize and prioritize, like, I need sleep, I need to take a day, have a bath at night, and recognize if I get those glitches or I know what's happening with my body. And it's just being you have to be more self-aware of your body than just taking better care that way.
Mm, mm. And since you've become a mom, which is obviously, you said your son's two and a half? Is that
Two
what
and
you
a half,
said?
yeah.
2.5, yeah.
Mhm.
How did that, because I mean, I know a lot of moms really struggle with finding time to take care of themselves. So because you have this sort of extra layer added, how did you navigate and are continuing? Like, how do you navigate that?
It's a process too. So I bumped up my therapy sessions. So I have it bi-weekly now instead of just once a month. I do a lot of journaling now, but I recognize that, like, instead of focusing all on one entity of that, like, I would focus so hard on getting better and recovering and doing my rehab and all of that stuff, and then focus that all on my business and stuff. I have to prioritize and take a step back and really look at what's the most important thing in life right now, and filter it into like the top three things. So spending time with him and everything, and family time is a lot too.
Yeah. That sounds like such a more balanced way of being. And it took you a serious knock around to get there.
Oh yeah.
But like that sounds like a really beautiful sort of balanced way to live your life, and you're sort of forced into it, but it still
Yeah.
got you there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So when you were sort of at this like point where you said you felt like your body betrayed you, what's your relationship like with your body now? Is it loving and understanding? Do you still have like times where you feel like your body's betrayed you? Like, how would you describe it now?
Um, it's still, again, it's a constant battle, and it's a constant thought process of, okay, at this opportune time, my hand will just, I can't use it anymore. And it's going to quit. Like, I call it the floppy fish, because it's literally so limp and you can just like hit someone in the face like a fish with it, like a cartoon. Um, it's just a constant process. And yeah, and taking it, for me, it's not even taking it day by day or the 24 hours. I have to take it hour and sometimes by a minute, because I then I go back into that negative, toxic hate space where it's not going to get me anywhere anymore. And I have to realize, this is my normal. This is my new normal. So, you got to accept it and adapt, or you're going to get stuck and you can't move forward.
Right. Right. Yeah. 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 So that, would you say that this has been like a self-love journey for you, or like a body love or a self-acceptance? Like, what words would you use?
Definitely a self-love journey. And yeah, for the last 5 years and ongoing. It's learning to identify and know who you are again.
Yeah.
Not like when you're 26, do you really know who you are? But I could say that at 31 and all of those things, right? I'll probably say that when I'm 50. But I think it's just learning how to be grateful for your body. So yeah, I might not have two working hands. I have one, but I still have one working hand, and being grateful for those little things that you would have never thought of before.
Right. Right. So that, because I mean, gratitude is such a powerful thing. Is that something that was part of your process? Like, really, like being grateful for all the little things?
Yes,
Yeah.
it almost had to be. You had to put that in. You had to have that in your care routine too, because if you're not grateful for what you have, or what even your circumstances are at that point, like I had naming my cane. So being grateful for my cane. My cane is named Larry, and he travels with me everywhere. He's always in my car. I have him. And being grateful that I have Larry, just in case I have those moments where I can't use both of my legs, or I need that stability too. And being grateful because, and for me, being in the hospital surrounded by, like worse traumatic brain injuries than I experienced, motor vehicle accidents, where they're not going to be able to, I had some glimmer of hope that I was going to be able to rehab my way to use both hands and feet and stuff. Those individuals were not. This is what their circumstance was. So it's always being grateful for whatever you were given, and how my body was coping and coming out of this continually.
Yeah. 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 So what did your, like, he's still there. He's been so quiet.
I know. He's being
So how has this sort of journey that you've been on, like with your body and the self-love journey, how has that impacted, say, your relationship with your husband and with your family and your friends? How do you relate to people differently now than before?
I think for me, it just I have a much broader open mind to things. So knowing that there's always a story behind someone, and how they got there, or what their journey is. So seeing that, okay, if they're having a bad day, or there's something, it's having compassion in that moment. That was something I was grateful for people did for me, that, giving you the benefit of not being able to attend all these things, or to do what I would have been a few years back. But it almost changed my relationship with my husband and like my parents and siblings and stuff, because I felt so burdened by what my circumstance was. So he was the sole breadwinner now. He took care of me, literally carrying me up the stairs sometimes. Like, we had to change houses because of my circumstance. So it was really a part of being grateful for him, but also letting someone love me like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes perfect sense. I hear from people all the time, like receiving is really hard. I think women especially, we have a really hard time receiving. And when you're in that position where you have to, you don't have a choice. Like, whoa, that.
Yeah. Like, I was in the hospital. Couldn't move. Like, he had to carry me to the bathroom, and like all of these things. When you're 26 and like a 28-year-old couple, you're like, oh, we'll never experience that. Or you're hitting, that's kind of a later in life thing. That's just what that's what it all is. You always think about. And then you're coming back in your 20s, and this is our relationship now, before we even get married and sign those papers. So
Yeah. It's true. I mean, I think we all think that could happen someday, but it's like, that's so far in the future. You don't ever really give it a second thought, right? Until suddenly it's your reality today.
Oh, for sure. And at times I lose my speech too. And back then I lost it quite a lot. And for him, he was my voice. So he supported me. He advocated for me, my husband. And like that too was a part of the journey. Was, okay, it's okay from being so independent. It was okay to depend on someone a little bit to get through this at that time.
Yeah. So how has this whole like self-love journey that you've been on, how has this impacted you as an entrepreneur? Because you had your business before, which you had to shut down for a while. So how is it different now, and how do you approach your business differently?
Now I think after this journey and during this journey, it's proving that I can do anything that I put my mind to. Because at times you're sitting there, and I was sitting there like, I'll never be able to do the same things I did before, which in some aspects is true, but it gave me the grit and the perseverance to know that I can, once I have my mind set on something, I will do something, and I will figure it out to get to what that goal is. And especially now too, if something arises, especially in this journey, I had to start from scratch. I lost all my clients and everything like that. So starting from scratch, I had to rebuild the business around this too. So adapting and having a lot of systems in place, just because if that were to happen again, a lot of different communication paths. So a lot of the times I will not do a lot of phone things, because email is best for me. I can do it one-handed, all of that thing. So just adapting to what this new life is now.
Yeah. I love this, because so many people struggle with entrepreneurship, especially at the beginning, right? Like, as if it can be kind of a foreign thing. And yet here you are, like in your 20s, dealing with these new, sometimes you have a voice, sometimes you don't, sometimes you have two hands, sometimes you don't. And yet you've still done it, and you've built a really successful business while doing it.
I think it's just like, that I had no other choice in my mind. There was no choice. Like, I was pretty much unhireable. I wouldn't be an employee because of being off and having to have all of these, they would have to give me all these things or allow me to work from home, or, I just was not hireable. And I'm from a small town, which there's not a lot of job market either in my field. So it was like, this is my only choice, is to start this up and to move forward with it. And it was almost to prove myself that I could do it too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I get that for sure. Sometimes you've got to prove it to yourself, don't you?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the services that you offer right now, what you help clients with.
So I help clients one-on-one or through strategy sessions, look at what, sometimes people call me the fixer. So I'll go in and examine everything that you do marketing wise, online and offline. So I work with both online entrepreneurs and brick and mortars, to look at what your return is on what return you're doing so far in your strategy. If you have any weaknesses that could be turned into opportunities for new markets, anything like that. And I create a whole campaign around that. That will get you more visibility and, at the end of the day, more lead generation.
Cool. That's awesome. That's really awesome. And you work with people, obviously the brick and mortar is sort of more close to you, I would assume, but online.
Doesn't matter. I've done a lot of North America, like online you could do, like I am primarily online, but just doing visuals and developing those campaigns too.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's good to know. Yeah. So as we sort of get ready to wrap this up, like, you have an incredible story and it's still evolving and it will continue to evolve. But if there's somebody who's listening who is maybe at that place that you were 5 years ago, whether it's a traumatic injury that they're dealing with or sort of a chronic thing, or really just feeling like their body's betrayed them, if there was one self-love exercise or practice that you would recommend for that listener to implement in their life, what would that one thing be?
Oh, that's so hard. I would say get into therapy, because my therapist has helped me. I was a shell of a person. I couldn't leave the house. There was all of these things, and she really helped me be able to find myself again and accept what had happened and build those bridges to move on almost. And then I would say to journal and just take all of those moments that you're feeling like, oh my God, my leg isn't working, or I can't talk today, but find that other communication path. If it is journaling through, the computer or written hand or something like that, because I like to look back on that and say, here are all of my achievements, how little they are. They're huge to me. Like the first time I was ever able to cut a steak again, it was, I cried at the dinner table in the restaurant. Like it was, but having that moment written down and looking back when I'm having the off days, especially being an entrepreneur where you're like, I just lost a client, or I had this big project fail or something like that. You look back at those moments and look at, wow, I've actually overcome a lot. And if you put everything together, me who was in that time or in that moment then, and me now is, we can handle a lot. So this is just a little blimp in the way, but okay, let's keep going on what a vision of our life is.
That's beautiful and freaking powerful. And also doable. Like that's the important thing. It's doable for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because everyone's been through a lot, or everyone's been through something. That's kind of what I've gathered from all of this too. And so it's like, just looking back and using that stuff to push you forward too.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Okay, Katie. So if listeners want to get in touch with you, if they want to find out more about you or your story or the work that you do, where is the best place for them to contact you?
So you can find me on my website, katievilaranda.com. And then I also have blogged about my journey, which is now being published into a book, at abrokenbrainstory.com.
That's awesome. Okay, beautiful. So I'll make sure to put the links to those in the show notes as well. So it's really easy to click on through. Yeah.
Thanks.
Awesome. Katie, thank you so much for being here. It has been a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here and thank you for listening. If you would like to get in touch with Katie, find out more about the work that she does, or get your hands on her book, I have made sure that all of the links to do that are in the show notes. As well, if you would like to join our free self-love Facebook community, you are always, always, always welcome. The link to do that is in the show notes as well. Thank you for being here. Here is to you loving yourself.